time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Matrix, and Whisperer.
G'day everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Insight NRL Show. It is that time of the week. It is Thursday, and we've got NRLW starting tonight. So, I'm trying to get this one done a little bit earlier so I can watch the game. But we're here to do the Insight Unlimited subscriber Q&A, where we answer our subscriber questions each and every week leading into round 21. So we're finally on the home straight now. Looking forward to the run home to see if we can make our head-to-head finals, first of all, but also climb up those rankings. So, guys, we'll obviously jump into these questions, but if you did want to become an Insight Unlimited member, you can. It is a very short time period. We're taking on Insight Unlimited members leading into the back end of the season. It is severely discounted, so hop into my DMs if you want a little bit of info there. Otherwise, we're going to start looking forward to the BBL and the NBL seasons, which Insight also has podcasts for. So, some exciting times ahead. It is a year-round game, this Supercoach. So, let's dive into the first of these questions for the NRL Supercoach week ahead. And the first one's from Matty Granger. I have a few extra trades. I'm not exactly sure how many, but a few extras fine. What do you think of selling Val Holmes and or Eli Katoa for Lomax and To'o? I mean, I don't love the Lomax pick. First of all, the reason I don't like the Lomax pick is more so the draw than anything. So if we bring it up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, we'll see here the Dragons don't have a nice run. They've got Penrith this week, which is probably the worst matchup in the game. They've then got Melbourne into the Bulldogs, who are all top 4 defensive teams this year in terms of conceding Supercoach points. So really not a nice matchup there. Those 3 in a row. They do have the Gold Coast Titans in round 24, which is fine, but then they come up against the Sharks, who are also a top 4, that Supercoach defensive team. So they play the 4 worst teams possible, basically, on the run home, the Dragons. And they're not exactly a team that are knocking the door down either to be super competitive this year. I don't see them making the 8. So, yeah, that draw is just awful. And that's probably the reason why I'd be fading Zach Lomax. But on the Brian To'o topic, I love him as a buy this week. If you can get to him, fantastic. Looking at these trades, if you can get Holmes to To'o, that's an awesome trade. I'm assuming you probably have to do Ellie to Lomax maybe to make it work. But Brian To'o is a fantastic option this week, next week, run home in general. There is a risk that Panthers do rest their players on the run home at some point. Nathan Cleary is probably going to cop a rest. I'd imagine all of the Origin guys are going to cop a rest, Luai, Martin, Yo, etc. I think To'o is a part of that bunch. He will definitely cop a rest at some point in the run home as well. So you've got to be prepared for that, I think, if you're going to get Brian To'o. But I do genuinely think that he could outscore the majority of the centre wings on the run home, especially with how friendly the Panthers' draw is as well. I mean, we'll reference the draw a fair bit over this episode, and I'll bring it up on the screen again. So we see the Penrith draw there is they've got Dragons this week. Then they've got Newcastle and Para, who are both conceding a lot of Supercoach points this year. They do play Melbourne, but then they've got a really nice run home playing against Canberra. They've got Souths, who are a bottom 3 team in terms of conceding Supercoach points this year, and they're playing them at home as well at Bluebet. So, yeah, definitely a really nice matchup there. And then they've got the Titans at home as well to finish the regular season, which I genuinely think that I think either Souths or the Titans, the Panthers will be resting their main guys. So just be aware of that. I'd probably avoid guys like Yo, the ones that lack that upside for the Panthers. I'd probably avoid guys like that. But I think Nathan Cleary is definitely a guy you're going to want. He could definitely outscore the rest of the halfbacks on the run home, even playing one less game if we allow for a rest. So, yeah, that's probably the answer to my question, Matt. I don't think I'd sell Val Holmes or Eli Katoa for Lomax or To'o if you're doing it like that. If you can find a way just to get to To'o in one trade, great. But Val Holmes playing on the wing this week, if Murray Taulagi doesn't come into the lineup, I do like Val on the wing much more than I like him at centre. His base power goes up on the wing with kick returns and things like that. Hopefully the Cowboys can put up a decent performance this week as well. So I'd probably hold on, mate. Yeah. Next one, Matty Granger. Should I be chasing higher ceiling with sit v start? For example, do I reserve Mulatalo over Eli Katoa? Do I reserve Iro over Cody Walker or Dylan Brown? It just depends what your appetite is really for risk. And it also comes down to where you're ranked and what your matchup looks like in the finals. So this is a bit of a broad question. I think it's individual based on the circumstances. But for the most part, I'm always looking for upside. I think I'm willing to take the risk on a guy that can score me 120 to 150 as opposed to just playing a Kale Iro, for an example, who will probably score 70 with a try and go no less than 47. So, for me, I'm always picking Mulatalo over Iro. I traded Iro just because of that reason and kept Mulatalo because I knew that he could get me those big scores I was looking for. And that's the reason we play Supercoach. We don't play Supercoach to pick all the safe players. You want to take some risks. And I think you're going to hopefully have a strong enough squad at the moment, Matty, to be able to mitigate that risk with other strong picks. You've got your Fafitas, your Crichtons. Harry Grant's never going to let you down, really. So many solid picks. You got Nathan Cleary, Dylan Brown, safe as a house. All of these guys aren't going to let you down. So you probably do need to find a little bit more risk in the center wing category and probably play these more upside guys because that can win you a comp. That can win you a head-to-head competition, a cash comp. It can get you 5,000 spots up in the rankings. So for me, I'm definitely I'm playing Mulatalo over Eli Katoa. I don't know whether that's viable. I think they both have the same kind of upside, to be honest, especially this week. I'd be playing Eli Katoa, definitely with the matchup that they have. But Ronnie Mulatalo, I'd probably try and play him on most of those good matchups. If we bring up the Sharks draw very quickly, the Sharks have North Queensland Cowboys away this week, but it is a fast track up in North Queensland. So probably a play against the Cowboys who have been leaky on the edges at times. And it's seen now that Braden Trindle back in the team, it looks like Ronnie is back to being partially relevant again. So, yeah, to answer your question, would you reserve Iro over? No way. Iro's the last player that I'm picking just because of that lack of upside personally. He scored 2 tries all year. And he scored 70 when he did get a try. So for me, I'd be definitely taking Cody Walker for upside over Iro. I'd definitely be playing Dylan Brown at halfback over Iro as well. And do I reserve Mulatalo over Katoa? No, not this week. If that's the decision you need to make, Katoa or Mulatalo, I'd be taking Katoa this week in this matchup every single day of the week. Dr. Hamo, you've got 3 trade options here at the moment. He's got Dane Gagai to Arthurs and Penasini to To'o. So I cut off part of the question that said he really wants To'o this week. So Dane Gagai and Arthurs for Penasini and To'o. Wishart and Katoa to Penasini and To'o. So Wishart, and I think it was Isaiah Katoa he was looking at, or Hamoli to Guymer and Penasini to To'o plus cash. Now, I'm going to rule C out pretty quickly. I don't think it's worth trading Hamoli to enough. I know Guymer's obviously got that enough now. He's not going to be playing. He's out for the year, unfortunately. But I think the options, it's either A or B for me. Dane Gagai is a really nice pod to have for the run home, and I don't know whether I really want to trade him. That the question mark comes around the Knights draw, and we're looking at the Knights draw constantly, especially those last 4 rounds because we want to pick up Ponga, right? From 23 to 27, the last 5 rounds. They're actually really advantageous. The matchups are fantastic. So I'd be reluctant to sell Dane Gagai personally. And Jesse Arthurs is a good little downgrade there. It looks like he's getting more involved with Adam Reynolds. I'm not sure on Penasini personally. Penasini to To'o is the trade, so that makes more sense. Wishart to Katoa. Look, honestly, I'd probably say B if I had to pick one. I know you're saying Isaiah Katoa here. Wishart to Isaiah Katoa. It gives you that extra number as well, which you said was really important to you. You want to make sure you get players on the park. So I'd probably say Wishart, now that his time is up, there's every chance he could become a bit of a bench nightmare as well. With Munster back in the team, if he plays this week, I'd say Wishart probably drops to the bench as that utility, probably covers Harry Grant at hooker. Wishart to Katoa and Penasini to To'o is probably the pick out of those 3 options there, Hamo. The next one from Mally, what do we think of Papenhuyzen with the injury hanging over his head? Is it still worth a punt with him at around 600K with the Storm draw? No, not at all. Josh and I spoke about this on Tuesday night on the pod. And just about around like the risk that Pappy's going to get shut down with the Storm 4 points clear on the table as well. They're coming first by 2 wins. So that means that basically they need to go and lose 2 of these matchups on the run home they need to lose 3 matchups on the run home, basically for Cleary and the Panthers to even get close to the minor premiership. For me, I don't know whether it means too much, the minor premiership these days, because you still get that home preliminary final anyway. So for me, I'm thinking he's probably going to cop a rest if they give him a chance. Like, he's getting needles every single week just to put weight through his heel for game day. I don't want a player in my team with such minimal amount of trades in our team. I don't want to bring in an already currently injured guy who's getting needled up to play every single week with a risk that the team is in first. They're just going to shut him down and give him 2 to 3 weeks off to let that heel rest coming into their finals campaign. So, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near Ryan Papenhuyzen. It's definitely not a good idea this year, unfortunately. Hamo, again, Jai Gray or Isaiah Katoa, last reserve. Tough one. Who have the Dolphins got? Let's have a look at the matchups here. We'll bring them up. So the Dolphins have the Gold Coast Titans, which is a very nice matchup. They concede, I think, the 4th most Supercoach points this year compared to any team. And then what was the other part of the question? We've got Jai Gray. Who do the Rabbitohs have? Souths have Canberra, who also haven't been great, but they're playing them away. So not sure I love that. Dolphins at home in Queensland against the Titans, obviously also a Queensland team. I feel like maybe there's more points to be made or points to be found there. Yeah, that's probably the way that I go. I'd probably just play Katoa, to be completely honest. Jai Gray's been good, don't get me wrong, and there's more base for Jai Gray at fullback. But I probably think Isaiah Katoa is a better player. So that's probably the way that I'm going to lean on that one. And the way that we've been going this year, Hamo, usually just do the opposite to me. So yeah, maybe we'll see how Jai Gray goes this week. Next question from Edge: trading out Jai Gray. All right, well, that was a big turn of events, wasn't it? Hamo's asking whether he reserves him, and Edge is trading him out. Would you rather buy Walsh, Lorry, or RTS for a 2 to 3 week play? The plan is then to move to Turbo or Ponga. Max trading, I would have thought, or what have we got? 7 rounds left, so nearly. You can do 1.5 trades a week, which is great. So, really good time to kind of make a few trades to get ahead and get your team sorted. Would I get Walsh, Lorry, or RTS? I actually really like Dane Lorry as a massive pod. RTS, going for RTS for maybe 2 weeks, that's fine. I think the issue for me with RTS is Marcelo Montoya is due back around 23, but Chance is due back around 22. So I think we're only going to see RTS at fullback for 1 week. And if CNK is back next week, it kind of then just decreases the upside for RTS straight away. He will probably shift to the wing, but the Warriors also haven't been playing very good football. They do play the Tigers this week, which could be monstrous for the Warriors players, for DWZ, for RTS, Tamari Martin, Chanel Harris-Tavita, all the acronyms. All the acronyms could be popping off this weekend. But yeah, it's like, are we looking at RTS purely because now he's at fullback against a bad team? Because that could quickly change next week. And I think we just need to be wary of that. I would prefer Dane Lorry for the Panthers. It looks like the news has come out recently that they're going to be pretty patient with Dylan Edwards' injury, his PCL injury as well. So Dane Lorry could get potentially more than 4 weeks at fullback. I would assume that we might see Dylan Edwards around 26 or 27 just so that they can get some Ks in his legs before finals. So, I'd probably pick Dane Lorry. Like, we can see the upside there is massive. Scored 120 odd last week, and the Panthers have a really soft run home. Whilst as Walsh is also not a bad pick at all, I think you can save a bit of coin and go Dane Lorry, and then it'll free up some moves then elsewhere. And then, going to Turbo or Ponga in round 23 probably seems like the play, to be honest. Ponga round 23 to 27 has the softest draw in the comp. So I'd probably go that way, Edge. Troz is the next one. Need to win this week's head-to-head to crack the top 8. Likely need a pod VC or C, as the opponent's team is quite similar. Who out of Hughes or Cleary scores more? Also have Hammer, Papenhuyzen, and Teddy as other options. I like this question. I'm all for pods. I like pods. And I think, honestly, Jerome Hughes could go nuclear this week. We look at Jerome Hughes' last outing against... I'll bring it up on the app so that I get the stats right. We've got Jerome Hughes, 770K. His last score against the Eels was 156 in round 22 last year. Now, the Eels have been very poor this year. I'd probably argue they've been even worse than they were last year. I think it's actually that's fair to say. Jerome Hughes, obviously, kind of everyone stopped looking at Jerome Hughes and started looking at him as a bloody trade out last week because he played with a cork for half a game and scored 25. That's not what you're going to get from Jerome Hughes more often than not. He's averaged 100 over the last 5-6 weeks. So I think Hughes probably bounces back and bounces back well, even with Munster in the team. Yes, Munster will take some receipts from Hughes. But in saying that, Hughes still runs the ship. Hughes still organises the attack. And I think Hughes is going to go big this week. So if you want to pod VC, I assume everyone's going to be captaining Cleary. I don't hate going with Hughes. And as good as Cleary looked last week, you know, it is his first or second game back. He's playing against the Dragons, who do randomly turn up at times as well. So they're also playing away. So, backing Hughes, I reckon, as a VC or a C. I'd even do maybe a Hughes into what does the schedule look like this week? The Dolphins play second last. A really pod left field play could be a VC of Nathan Cleary at 2 p.m. on Sunday straight into a Hammer C. Because if you've got Hammer there, I reckon he's probably the best pod captaincy of the round. So that's probably the way that I'd lean if you really want to go poddish, mate. Pommy with the next one, Hammer or To'o if you had to bring in one, who and why? Look, it's for rest of season. If that's my pick, it's To'o for obvious reasons. Look, Hammer is a pod. He's a pod for a reason. We know that Hammer can go 30, 35. He can also score 100. But Brian To'o is just so rock solid. And I've talked about the draw in the schedule, but we need to bring it up consistently because you look at the Panthers again, like they're versing the Dragons this week, and then they play 5 teams in the bottom 6 of Supercoach points conceded for the run home from 22 to 27. That is outstanding. So Brian To'o is probably the guy that you're going to want. We look at the Finns draw, and it's really not that great. They've got the Titans this week, which is great, but then they've got Roosters, Bulldogs, and Melbourne in the next month, who are 3 of the best 4 defensive teams in the competition. So, yeah, for me, I'm definitely picking To'o. But if you've got enough trades there that you can go Hammer, and then you've got a stack center wing and you can play him on matchups, that's great. Or potentially you can even trade him out, a little bit later once these matchups dry up. That could be a play as well. So don't mind that. But, yeah, my rest of season pick is definitely Brian To'o. Mr. Callio, Galvin or Dillbags to Cleary? Currently have Burton, Hughes, Galvin, and Brown. That is a nice stacked halves selection there. Galvin or Dylan Brown? Now, I guess this is probably the decision I had to make this week, and I chose Dylan Brown. The only reason I chose Dylan Brown is because I had to make the cash work, and I've got like $1,400 spare in the bank. So, would I have picked Galvin if I could trade him out? Look, honestly, probably. I'd probably say it's Galvin, even though I'm confident Galvin scores well this week. It is the Tigers. Galvin has played fantastically for a 19-year-old kid to come into first grade and do what he's done this year has been fantastic. But the Tigers, it's been a very long season. It's been an arduous season. For his first season in first grade, he's barely missed any footy as well. So maybe there is a chance potentially that Galvin does miss a couple of games on the run home here. Benji just might be giving him a rest, but I don't see him putting his hand up for a rest. So maybe he'll bite back at that. Galvin or Dillbags? This is honestly the toughest question of the pod. Galvin or Dillbags to Cleary? I'm probably going to lean towards trading Galvin. It just has to be. I know Dillbags has a really tough run, and the Eels draw over the next month is brutal. But having Dillbags as a pod in round 26 and 27, they've got a really nice couple of games to finish the season on. The Eels, where are they on this sheet? They play the Dragons, they play the Tigers in round 27. And I think if you're trying to climb rank, obviously head-to-head wise, if it's Dillbags, you're trading him out, I think, if it's head-to-head. But if you're an overall player, I think having Dillbags for round 27, where there's no chance he gets rested, that could be the play for me, I think. So I think I'd trade out Galvin, mate, unfortunately, as much as it hurts my soul to say it. Matrix, if you were a Super Smash Brothers character, who would you be and why? My favorite game, maybe this is telling a little bit about myself, my favorite game when I was growing up, and it was actually the first ever chipped game that I got on my PlayStation 1 back in the day. So you get your chipped game, and we used to go to Menangle markets, and I used to get all the chipped games from my PlayStation 1. And one of the first ever games I got was Metal Gear Solid. So for any of you who've played that, Solid Snake, the main character there, I would, in Super Smash Brothers, I'd be definitely picking Solid Snake. Just my favorite game of all time, and I still play them to this day. Still go back and play like Metal Gear Solid 1 on PlayStation 1 graphics where, Solid Snake looks like about 3 pixels total. If that's my Super Smash Brothers character, Solid Snake. Why? Just because I love the game. And also, he's a very tactical, sneaky, kind of well thought out, calculated character. And I feel like I'm pretty calculated as well in most of my approaches to life. So that's me, I reckon. Next one, Pommy. What do you think of Dane Lorry? I don't know. I've never met him. Probably a nice guy, I'm sure. Supercoach wise, great option. Fantastic option. I'd love to know, actually, I might check right now how many people are trading him in this week, because I think he probably could be one of the best pods over the next month. There's every chance he plays the next 3 games as a minimum, because they did say Dylan Edwards was going to be out for 4 weeks with that PCL rupture, and then they've come out after that and said that they're going to be really patient with his rehab. So that could be even more. We could be looking at 4 to 6 weeks potentially for Edwards. So I'll quickly look at the most purchased players. Obviously, Nathan Cleary is definitely near most purchased, Turbo second, Casey McLean at third, which also makes sense. I'm here for that. Dane Lorry, 11th most purchased at 515K, 2.3% in the top 1% of teams are bringing him in. He's only 3.6% owned total in the top 1%. I'll quickly filter this by top 10%, just for those of you that make it maybe a little bit more relevant if you're not in the top 5%. And where is he now? Dropping a little bit further. So it looks like he's one of those top 1% pods of some sort, I guess. No, he's still 11th. 1.7% of people in the top 10% are buying him. So there you go. So as you go down, maybe the people in the top 1% are looking at a bit more of a pod of Dane Lorry. I really like him. I think that if you've got that flexibility, what's his dual position? He's got fullback 5'8" dual as well. So for those of us maybe looking to move on a Galvin or even a Dylan Brown or whatever, that could be a really nice option, I think. So I'd probably go in that direction. I like Dane Lorry if you're looking at him. Pommy, is Gus a must when my front row forward is May, AFB, Cotter and Pulu, and the 2RF is Barnett, Katoa, Nikora, Fafita and Lucas. Is he a must when your team looks like that? No, probably not. I mean, you could probably rely on playing AFB and Cotter, and then ideally what I'd be trying to do is shift up Barnett into the front row, because Barnett provides much more value as a front rower than he does as a 2RF. There's way more good 2RF options than there is front row forward. So, I mean, personally, I'd probably even look at going AFB, Cotter, Barnett up in front row, and you could trade May to Gus. And then you'd have Gus, Katoa, Nikora, Fafita. Like they're probably the top 4 2RFs. I've got Hamoli on top of that, so I've got 5 really good playable guys there. But if you can make May to Gus work and shift up Barnett to front row forward and basically rotate those guys, you could play AFB, Cotter and Barnett pretty comfortably most weeks. And then you've got a nice little backup there. I know that you're probably stuck in round 27 then if you did it that way, but if you've got another duel like a semi-final or something at 2RF, you could play him in round 27 with Cotter to finish off the season. So is Gus a must-have? No, he's not. I want him because from the eye test, he looked way too good to pass up personally for me. But when you look at the numbers and you look at the round 23 bye for the Roosters is fast approaching, also the fact the Roosters are at the top of the competition, I think they're coming third at the moment. There's every chance they'll probably finish third, the way the ladder looks, maybe as high as second, depending on what Penrith do. But Gus could cop a rest at the end of the year as well in round 27. So we just don't know how that's going to play out. So no, by no means would I call him an absolute must-have. But for full transparency, I'm buying him this week because I really want to stack my 2RF and really attack these matchups for the run home. Mally. So we've got 3 questions left. Mally, sit v start, play 3 out of Iro, Dillbags, Ronnie, and Marnie. So let's quickly have a look at these matchups, shall we? What do we got? We've got. Sorry, I've got to go to the screen. Internet's playing up a little bit. All right, we've got Sharks playing North Queensland Cowboys. Would I play Iro over Ronnie? No. Just like I mentioned at the start of the pod, the upside for me for Ronnie over Iro is there, and if you want 50, great. That Iro's a great play, but I kind of want that 110, 120. I want what Ronnie can get me. Iro can't score those scores. Watch him torch me this weekend. Marnie is safe as a house against the Broncos. The Broncos have a really big forward pack as well. They're going to be bashing down that front door against the Bulldogs. So I feel like Marnie's going to have to do a lot of work against the Broncos at Suncorp this Saturday. I'd be definitely playing him. I think he gets through a ton of work. And then Dillbags, yeah, the Eels they're playing Melbourne and it's going to be tough, but they're playing at CommBank. So that is the advantage. And I think that we looked at the numbers for Dylan Brown and his base goes up from 31 to about 34 when he is at halfback. He also averages over 70 with Dejan Arce as his halves partner this year. And it was only a small sample size of 3 games, but it's enough for me to look at playing Dillbags and going, all right, well, I mean, there is a chance of an attacking stat. There's a chance of a try assist. His base goes up, so it's safe. Who's the player I'm not picking out of these 4? It's Iro. I sold Iro a couple of weeks ago, like I said, for that reason, just for the lack of upside. And I think that Dillbags, Ronnie and Marnie can probably provide as much of that as Iro can. John O'D with the second last one. Thoughts on these trades? Kai Pearce-Paul to AFB via Jules. I think it was Curran and someone else. And then Jaden Campbell to Nathan Cleary. Leaves me with 220K in the bank and 7 trades. Plan to get Ponga in for Pappy in round 23. Yeah, lock and load that. That's a very easy decision to make, I think. If you can get Kai Pearce-Paul, who's on the bye this week and kind of fading a little bit, to one of the best front row forwards in the competition at the moment, or definitely in Supercoach, I'd be doing that without a second thought. And Jaden Campbell has topped out in cash. We did see the floor in Jaden Campbell now. I don't think he scores under 30, but we did see that floor when the Titans don't play good footy and he doesn't get himself involved as much. So I think Jaden Campbell to Nathan Cleary is a no-brainer. So if you can pull these 2 trades off and have cash in the bank with 7 trades left after this week, you're in a fantastic spot to finish really strong, Jono. So yeah, no second thought, pull the trigger. And last question, Velcro Wallet Guy, is Appy a play at halfback this week? So look, he has been named in the 9, but there is the word floating around everywhere that Appy's going to play in the halves with I can't remember who it is. Latu Fainu. Is he going to play in the halves with Latu Fainu? Which also begs the question, where does this leave Lockie Galvin? Is he going to have a rest? Is he going to move to 13? Where are they going to play him? Are they going to play him at centre? I'm really unsure. But it doesn't make sense for me to take out Galvin out of this team when he's been in the team all year. But again, like I said earlier, maybe they do look to move him, give him a bit of a break coming into the end of the year. It has been a long season. So to come back to the question, is Appy a play at halfback? I prefer him at halfback than hooker. If that gives you an answer, would you play him over Robson? Oh, depends. It depends on whether you're looking for upside or not, because Robson will probably score you 55 to 70. But Appy is that guy that can score 100. And with his hands on the ball all the time at halfback, you can probably guarantee there will be an attacking stat here somewhere, whether it be a try assist, whether it be a line break assist, whether it be, it could be a try himself. He's a good, fantastic runner of the ball. I'd play Appy over Robson purely based on upside and the fact that he probably can hit that 100 mark. I'm not confident Robson can. So that's probably the way I'd lean with that. And yeah, I do feel more comfortable with him at halfback than I would at hooker, if that helps. So guys, hopefully that helps your teams this week. It's definitely starting to get into the nitty-gritty part of the season where you do have to look at sit versus start matchups. And I'm sure a lot of these questions coming into the back end of the year are going to be on sit starts. It's going to be on who do I use for my final trade? How many trades do I have or should I have left for the run home for injuries and restings? And we'll talk about that a lot on the Sunday and the Tuesday pod with Josh, with Matrix. And I'll get a few special guests on the pod on the run home as Matrix is having a bit of time with his family. So I'll hold the fort. We'll be back here on Sunday as well to wrap up the week. We've also got the NRLW starting tonight. And if you haven't joined the Bundy Mixer, we have created a league. We are giving away prizes for the winner at the end of the year. We'll be giving shout-outs to the top scorers on the run home as we do for the unlimited competition that we have every single year. So jump in the Bundy Mixer. The link is in the description below. Get involved and learn the women's game a bit if you haven't before, because it's it's a fantastic sport and it's awesome to get a little bit of extra footy if you love your footy as much as us. So guys, that'll do. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully some green arrows. Hopefully we can bring it home and start working towards increasing that rank and getting ourselves set up for head-to-head finals. Good luck. We'll see you on Sunday.